Okay, yeah, started recording. Okay, so we were in this purchase requisition stage. Okay, so let's take an example of say the budget which was created for rupees 20,000. Okay, now let's see the budgets which will be used and encumbrances created or liquidated in various scenarios. So here, for example, the user intends to buy some office stationery this month. Okay, and the estimated amount is approximately 3,000. So now how does that affect? Okay, so here the user creates a purchase requisition for rupees 3,000. He performs the funds check action to ensure that sufficient funds are available for the reserving the money required for this purchase against the budget, which is rupees 20,000, and the user submits the document for approval, and the approver approves the document. Okay, so the accounting details are as these. Okay, the event type is requisition reserve. This is still is in a reserve, fine. And then encumbrance type is commitment. As I said, the requisition level is the commitment stage. Then the balance type is encumbrance, and the journal date would be encumbrance date as provided in the PR distribution when you're raising the PR, purchase requisition. Okay, so the entry would be budget account from PR distribution debit rupees 3,000 to reserve for encumbrance commitment. Okay, as I said, requisition is the commitment stage, rupees 3,000. Okay, then from this requisition stage it moves ahead further to the purchase order stage. This is where the approval of requisition happens into a purchase order. Okay, so what are the impact of the journal entry? Here the user again auto creates the process to create the purchase order document from the purchase requisition. Then the user submits the PO document for approval, and the approver approves the document. So these are the entries for that. Reserve for encumbrance commitment. See here, you're reversing the entry here. You have to reverse the entry, because otherwise if you keep adding these entries, you know, your debit and credit balances will differ, right? As I said, the encumbrances created should be liquidated also. Okay, you getting my point here, Shrikant? Sneha, you, yeah.
Liquidated in the sense, what does it mean?
You
It
close
is
that.
closed.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
close it. You close it. You have to set
Okay.
off. You have to set off that entry. Okay. So here in the requisition, you make an entry, budget account from PR distribution debit rupees 3,000 to reserve for encumbrance commitment. In the purchase order stage, that gets reversed here. You saw this was a credit entry that gets debited. So you set off this entry here. Okay, which is reserved for encumbrance commitment rupees 3,000 debit to budget account from PR distribution. Then you finally go and make another entry, okay, which is the obligation. See here, let me show you. This is a commitment encumbrance type. Then you move on, because your requisition will be approved into a PO, the purchase order, okay, which becomes an obligation stage. Okay, here then you make an entry saying budget account from PO distribution rupees debit rupees 3,000 to reserve for encumbrance, which is the obligation. Okay, now there are three scenarios wherein you can even increase your PO, you can decrease your PO, or even you can cancel your PO. So let us see how the accounting entries happen in these three scenarios. So here the purchase order, we are increasing the purchase order. So after the PO is approved, it is likely that the PO quantities or the price amount is changed. The PO revision is created in such a situation, okay, in order to update the necessary changes to the PO. Okay, so here the PO has been increased by rupees 500. So what the user does, he then updates the PO and creates a new version to change the amount. Okay, so in this example, the user changes the quantity price to reflect in an increased amount of 500. This is by 500 you're increasing the PO order. Then again, as usual, the way in the previous steps, the user submits the PO revision for approval. The approver approves the document. The accounting details are like this: PO budget account from PO distribution rupees 500 debit to reserve for encumbrance, which is the obligation. Okay, this is an increase. Then what happens? You can even decrease the amount. For some scenarios, you just don't want to go ahead with the same PO. You want to decrease certain raw materials for whatever reasons the company has. In such a scenario, what you do again, he'll make a fresh raise a fresh version of the PO. The entry would be reserved for encumbrance obligation rupees 500 to budget account from PO distribution. See, if you see the same amount here, here it is the same amount. For you people to understand, I've given the same amount. Okay, when you decrease it, you again, you're seeing, you're reversing the entry here. You're getting my point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you're
Yes,
reversing the entry, so that entry gets liquidated. Okay, in the reserve. Okay, so then comes the, okay, you're okay with this, right? The decrease in the amount, you understood this part. Okay, now moving ahead, we'll go to the cancellation stage. Okay, there are it is possible that the line, the quantities can be cancelled. You can cancel the whole purchase order. But here in the example I've just given, the cancelled PO is for rupees 1,800. So again, the encumbrance type is obligation. And finally, you will make an entry of reserve for encumbrance obligation, 1,800, debit to budget account from PO distribution, rupees 1,800. So these are the basic three scenarios where you can increase, decrease, and these are your accounting entries which takes place. Okay. Then let's go to the receipt of goods. Okay, now this is a stage where you are receiving the goods and services for the PO order that was approved. Okay, so when goods and services in a purchase order are received, there will be an encumbrance liquidation on the accounting for the receipt. Okay, so you'll be closing that encumbrance account because now it is an actual. You see here, the balance type is actual. It is no more an encumbrance. Okay, so you'll have to set off that encumbrance account. All right. So what the user does is he creates a receipt. So we are following the purchase requisition amount here. Don't get confused with the increase, decrease, and cancellation. That was just to explain you in such scenarios what would be the accounting entries. Okay. So from purchase requisition, you had raised a purchase requisition of 3,000, which got approved for 3,000 rupees, and then you come to the receipt of goods. Okay, this is a normal scenario. Okay, that I'm continuing from there. All right, it's clear, right? Any confusion here? Shrikant,
ma'am.
confusion?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine, good. Okay, so the user creates a receipt for rupees 3,000, which is a full value of goods received against that PO. Then a receipt transaction is created when the receipt is saved. Okay, so when the goods are delivered to the respective location, this will be the entry. Okay, which is receiving inspection account rupees 3,000 debit to AP accrual liability account rupees 3,000. This is, you still have received the goods, you have not made the payment yet. Okay, so this is AP accounts payable accrual liability account 3,000. Okay, then moving ahead.
Ma'am, one second.
Yes sir.
Srikanth, Sneha ma'am. See,
Yes, sir.
இப்போ பர்ச்சேஸ் ரிக்வசிஷன் போட்ட பிறகு பர்ச்சேஸ் ஆர்டர் வெண்டாருக்கு ரைஸ் பண்றாங்க, செகண்ட் ஸ்டெப். ஓகேங்களா? வெண்டாருக்கு ரைஸ் பண்ண பிறகு வெண்டார் என்ன பண்ணுவாரு, ரிசீவ் பண்ணிட்டு அந்த பர்ச்சேஸ் ஆர்டர் ரிசீவ் பண்ணிட்டு அதுக்கு அதுல என்ன மெட்டீரியல்ல என்ன குவான்டிட்டி இருக்கோ அதை அவரு சப்ளை பண்ணுவாரு. ஓகே, சப்ளை பண்ணிட்ட பிறகு அது அந்த கூட்ஸ் எங்க வரும்னா இன்வென்ட்ரி டிபார்ட்மெண்ட்டுக்கு வரும். இன்வென்ட்ரி டிபார்ட்மெண்ட்ல வந்த பிறகு அவங்க என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க, இன்ஸ்பெக்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க, வெரிஃபை பண்ணுவாங்க. அதாவது குவான்டிட்டி கரெக்டா, அந்த ரிசீவ் பண்ண குவான்டிட்டி நம்ம பர்ச்சேஸ் ஆர்டர்ல மென்ஷன் பண்ண மாதிரி கரெக்டா இருக்கா, அதெல்லாம் வெரிஃபை, டேமேஜஸ் ஏதாவது இருக்கா, அதுதான் ரிசீவிங் இன்ஸ்பெக்ஷன் அக்கௌண்ட். புரியுதா? டேமேஜஸ் அந்த மாதிரி இருந்தனா அதை ஓரமா ஒதுக்கி வைப்பாங்க, ரிட்டர்ன் பண்ணிடுவாங்க, திருப்பி ரிட்டர்ன் பண்றதுக்காக. அதான் இன்ஸ்பெக்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க. அப்படியே குட்ஸ் ரெசிப்ட் உள்ள எடுக்க மாட்டாங்க, அப்படியே இது எடுக்க மாட்டாங்க. ரிசீவிங் இன்ஸ்பெக்ஷன் அக்கௌண்ட் இன்ஸ்பெக்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க, அது கரெக்டா இருக்கா இல்லையான்னு. அதனாலதான் அந்த ரிசீவிங் இன்ஸ்பெக்ஷன் அக்கௌண்ட் வந்து. Okay, madam, you continue.
Okay, sir, fine. Then we move on to the delivery of goods. Okay, so here when the goods are delivered to the respective location, this is the entry which are created. Okay, journal entry date would be the date of delivery, and the balance type is actual. Okay, and the entry would be charge account from PO distribution rupees 3,000 to receiving inspection account rupees 3,000. See, in the receipt of goods, we had to set off this account, right? This entry of receiving inspection. In the delivery goods, we make it a credit entry. So this gets set off. Okay, this gets knocked off. All right. Then you come to the delivery, which again you make an entry saying the reserve for encumbrance obligation, which was created during your PO, that will again gets set off here. Okay, which is your reserve for encumbrance obligation rupees 3,000 to budget account from PO distribution. As you remember, this was the entry in purchase order. Okay, by in the
Yes,
delivery
ma'am.
of goods, this gets reversed here. Okay, so this gets set off here. All right. Then is your invoice matched to PO. Okay, so here the you're matching your invoice to the purchase order shipment. So AP accrual liability rupees 3,000 to the supplier liability payables account 3,000. So in the goods here you had this AP accrual liability here in your receipt of goods. We already set off this receiving inspection account in the delivery of goods. In the AP accrual, we'll be setting it off in the invoice matched to PO stage. You saw here that was a credit entry then, and here it's a debit entry. So you're setting off this account as well. Okay, so the entry would be AP accrual liability account rupees 3,000 debit to supplier liability payments account. Then the obligation reversal of the encumbrance happens here, which is the same entry in the this one gets reserved here. I mean reversed. Sorry. Okay, reserve for encumbrance obligation rupees 3,000 debit to budget account from PO distribution. And finally comes your invoice payment. Okay, you have checked, as sir mentioned, there will be inspection, everything is all cleared. Okay, everything is a green signal from the department saying everything is fine. Now we can make the payment, right? So this is the stage. This is the event type is invoice match PO, the balance type is actual, and the journal date entry date will be a payment date. So here debit supplier liability payments account rupees 3,000 to your bank account, and from your bank your 3,000 rupees will be released to the supplier towards your payment. So this will be finally recorded in your GL. Okay. So let's see how the business flow transaction looks like. As I mentioned, business allocated expenditure was 20,000. Okay, then the PR requisition is raised. Okay, then it goes for the approval. It gets approved, which is your commitment amount of 3,000. Then PR purchase requisition is auto creates a purchase order, which is rupees 3,000. Then this PO value is changed from it's just an addition that I've made here. Okay, 3,000 to 3,500. There is an increase in the PO amount. Okay, so this 3,500 is your obligation amount because the PO has been created, approved and created. Okay, so we'll be reversing this. Brackets is basically a reversal of your entries, which I just showed it in your in the previous spreadsheets. Okay, and then the invoice received and matched against the PO, which is 3,500, which is the actual payment, the actual expenditure for the company, and your budget remaining amount is rupees 16,500, which is your unencumbered amount. All right. So is everybody clear till this? Shrikant and Sneha?
Yes, ma'am.
So anything that you would like to add here?
Okay.
Sir, do you want to add anything here?
Ma'am, that invoice payment.
Yes, sir. Here. Okay. Yeah.
Invoice payment. Sneha, Srikanth, இந்த entry புரியுதா? Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
என்னது இது? What it mean? This entry, what it mean? என்ன பண்ண இது என்ன நேச்சர் ஆஃப் இது சொல்லுங்க. இது என்ன இப்ப மேம் சொன்னாங்க இல்லையா பேமெண்ட்னு சொன்னாங்களே என்ன பண்ணிருக்காங்க என்ன இது அது கொஞ்சம் சொல்ல முடியுமா?
என்ன டைப் ஆஃப் அக்கவுண்ட் அந்த மாதிரி கேக்குறீங்களா சார்?
இல்ல அது என்ன நேச்சர் ஆஃப் இது என்ன அது அதனுடைய டிரான்சாக்ஷன் என்ன? டிரான்சாக்ஷன்னா தெரியும்ல, வாட் இஸ் மென்ட் பை டிரான்சாக்ஷன்? See, transaction means information that is recorded. Okay, whatever the business information that is recorded. Okay, that is called okay, business activity that is recorded. So என்ன activity நடந்திருக்கு இதுல? இந்த இதுல என்ன நடந்திருக்கு சொல்லுங்க. புரியுதா? இன்வாய்ஸ் பேமெண்ட் மேடம் சொல்றாங்க. ஓகே, என்னது அது? புரிஞ்சுதா? கொஞ்சம் சொல்ல முடியுமா? இப்போ இங்க வாங்க.
நம்ம பேமெண்ட் பண்ணிருக்கோம் சார், செக் மூலமா பே பண்ணிருக்கோம்.
யாருக்கு பே பண்ணிருக்கோம்?
லைக் சப்ளையருக்கு.
வெரி குட். சரி, மேம் கேன் யூ கம் டு இன்வாய்ஸ்?
Yes sir. Invoice match to PO, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
The year in the entry என்னது? இந்த என்ட்ரி என்னது?
லைக் நம்ம லேட்டரா அந்த சப்ளையருக்கு பே பண்ணனும்ன்றதுக்காக அந்த
வெரி குட். அதாவது இவர இந்த வெண்டார் நம்ம இதுல வெச்சிருக்கோம், கிரெடிட். ஓகே,
கிரெடிட் பேசிஸ்ல.
வெரி குட், எக்ஸலென்ட்.
Credit accrual, yeah. Good Sneha, yeah.
ஓகே, சப்ளை வெண்டார கிரெடிட்ல, ஏன்னா அவரை என்ன இது பண்றோம், சன்ட்ரி கிரெடிட்டா தான் நம்ம இது பண்ணிருக்கோம். சோ கிரெடிட்ல இது பண்ணிருக்கோம். சோ பேமெண்ட் கொடுக்கும்போது என்ன ஆகும்? பேமெண்ட் கொடுக்கும்போது பேமெண்ட் கொடுக்கும்போது வாட் ஹேப்பன்ஸ்? சப்ளையர் டெபிட்டட். நான் ஒரு இது சொன்னேன் இல்லையா, ஞாபகம் இருக்கா? டெட் கிளிப்னு ஒன்னு சொன்னேன்ல, கிளிக் டெட் கிளிக்.
எஸ் சார்.
Debit
expenses, assets, drawings.
Credit,
liability, income, capital.
அவ்வளவுதான். இந்த இத அத அப்ளை பண்ணீங்கன்னா முடிஞ்சு போச்சு. இப்ப பாருங்க, சப்ளையர் பேயபிள் என்ன ஆயிருக்கு, சப்ளையர் லைபிலிட்டி என்னது, அது வெண்டார் என்ன இது, சரி ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் சன்ட்ரி கிரெடிட்டர்ஸ் என்னது, அது சன்ட்ரி கிரெடிட்டர்ஸ் என்ன?
எக்ஸ்பென்ஸ்
இல்ல, சன்ட்ரி கிரெடிட்டர்ஸ் என்னது? சன்ட்ரி கிரெடிட்டர்ஸ் என்னது? லைபிலிட்டியா அசெட்டா ஒரு என்ன? லைபிலிட்டி. சரி, அப்போ அந்த இது என்னது? டெட் கிளிக். அது என்ன யூஸ் பண்ணுங்க பார்க்கலாம். So when there is an increase in credit, அப்போ இன்க்ரீஸ் என்ன இருக்கு? இங்க இன்வாய்ஸ் மேட்ச் PO. மேம், இன்வாய்ஸ் மேட்ச் PO.
Yes sir.
When there is an liability, payable account, country creditor is getting increased. அப்ப என்ன ஆகும்? liability நான் சொன்னேன் இல்லையா,
liability is to be credited.
Very good. Liability, when there is an increase in what?
Increase in liability.
When there is increase in liability, it should be credited. Okay, now இங்க வாங்க, invoice payment வாங்க. இப்போ என்ன இருக்கு? liability என்ன இருக்கு?
liability debit.
liability குறைஞ்சிருக்கு இல்லையா?
liability decrease.
ஏன்னா நம்ம பேமெண்ட் கொடுத்துறோம். சோ சன்ட்ரி கிரெடிட்டர்ஸ் உடைய இது குறையுது. அப்ப என்ன ஆகும்?
debit whenever there is a decrease in liability.
Decrease in liability, it should be debited. Increase in liability, credited.
It should be credited.
இதே தான் இந்த இதுக்கு பொருந்தும். ஓகேவா? அசெட்டுக்கு இதே மாதிரி வேற ரிவர்சல். ஓகே, புரியுதா? சோ அந்த கான்செப்ட் நாமக்கு வெச்சுக்கோங்க.
Yes sir, I've given this here. Okay, you can just go through it. Yes sir. Good sir. I mean, they need this. Okay, so you can just go through this for your reference. I have given here in the first two spreadsheets. Okay, so you can understand. Yeah.
So asset accounts are debited when they are increasing. பாத்தீங்களா, ஈஸியா கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. இதுதான் நான் சொன்னேன். ஓகேவா? இத ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கோங்க.
So I'll be sharing this Excel sheet. Okay, so you can, if you go through those entries, once you get doubt, you can refer this. Okay, you have the golden rules of accounting here and the debit and credit rules over here. Okay, so you can just go through it. It will be easier for you to understand. Okay, Sir, that's it for today, sir.
Yeah,
And, yeah. So any doubts, people? I mean, Shankar sir, Shankar sir, is he there?
he is not. I think he is not responding.
No, his mic is not mute. Yeah, I think he should be knowing about encumbrance, right? He should be.
Yeah, he is well with it. He should.
Yeah. That's what. Okay. Anyways, he's there in the class, right? Even his.
He is there, but he is
no
not
problem.
following.
Okay. Everyone, that's it for today.
Srikanth, Shankar, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir. Shankar sir.
Whatever videos, PPT,
Yeah, good evening, ma'am.
we
Yeah.
share.
Sir,
Ma'am,
Shankar sir, I think you should be knowing about encumbrance, right? That was, I think.
Yes, ma'am. I gone through that. Yeah, it's good.
Oh, okay,
I go through
sir.
that.
Okay, fine, sir. Okay. Because
Srikanth, Shankar, Srikanth,
Yes, sir.
Srikanth,
Yes, sir.
Neha, ma'am. See, whatever the PPT, whatever the videos we share, kindly go through. Okay.
Yes,
And
sir.
also,
Sure, sir.
is given for you. Please practice. Okay. 3 months time இது இருக்கு. So you have to practice. Okay. Daily ஒரு இதா practice பண்ணுங்க. See, recorded videos we are sending now.
Okay, sir.
You practice it. Then only you will be knowing where which entry எப்படி see navigation and all you have to be thorough in that. Okay. So that is very important. So when you practice only you will be familiar with that navigation and all.
ஸ்லோவா இருக்கு சார் யூஸ் பண்ணும்போது இன்ஸ்டன்ஸ் வந்து
இல்ல மார்னிங்ல யூஸ் பண்ணுங்க. மார்னிங் இஃப் யூ யூஸ் இட் வில் பி இதா இருக்கும், ஸ்பீடா இருக்கும். ஏன்னா சம்டைம்ஸ் இன்ஸ்டன்சஸ் நிறைய பேர் ஆக்சஸ் பண்ணுவாங்க இல்லையா, மெனி பீப்புள் ஷுட் பி ஆக்சஸிங். அதனால மார்னிங்ஸ்ல கொஞ்சம் ஓகேங்களா?
Yes, sir. Sure,
Okay,
sir.
Okay, and please start even documenting. Don't just leave it tomorrow. Because as soon as you finish a chapter, maybe after 2-3 days, start doing that. Okay, so that you'll, even when you're researching for your document, you'll get a lot of information from Google, which will give you a better understanding for your future classes as well. Okay, so we request you to start documenting as and when you get time, chapter wise. Okay, now that we'll be completing GL this week, you can at least start off with the introduction if you haven't still started, and or else if you've already started, well and good, you can start with the GL document preparation. Okay, so that will help you. If you just postpone it, there will be a lot of burden by the end of the course, because you'll have to even document your AP, AR, fixed asset and cash management and all that. So once you start doing it, as soon as we finish each options, it will be helpful for you also to document it in a convenient way. Okay, all right. Okay, so thank you everyone. See you tomorrow. I'll be taking
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah.